Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU. Hello and welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today we are joined by KU grad Tom Babb, who's in Austin, Texas, joining us virtually. Welcome, Tom.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for connecting. I know you have a busy schedule. So I see your job title, you're Growth Marketing Manager at SkyFi. So tell me a little bit about what you do in that role and what SkyFi does.
Yeah, I started at SkyFi a little bit over a year and a half ago in April of 2022. I came in as the community manager, so my job was to really build the brand up and build our social media presence. Since then, I've fallen into the growth marketing manager role, where I'm really helping with the growth of the brand in our community, primarily online. We are an e-commerce company selling satellite imagery to the masses and to the general public. So before us, buying satellite imagery was very difficult. Really only the government and big companies like Microsoft could purchase it, and we're making it easier to buy.
And do you consider yourself kind of a one-man marketing show? I mean, do you do pretty much everything?
Yes, I do. I work with a couple agencies that help me with a number of different tasks, but yes, I'm our only marketing head at the company.
Now, is this a type of job you thought you might have someday while you were a KU student?
It's definitely a dream job that I wish I would have had. So I'm very happy to be here. Yeah, I think it's something I didn't realize that companies really only had one marketing person. A lot of companies do. So I didn't know I was going to be a one-man team. But yeah, I definitely wanted to be someone making a decision on all things marketing for a company.
So is that kind of the beauty of being a one-man show? I mean, you get a lot of say in the final decisions, correct?
Yes, I was thinking about this before I came on here, but it's awesome and I love it and it's everything I want, but it's also scary sometimes because all the decisions come back on me. So if something's successful or not successful, it's my fault. So it's been really fun and motivating and something that I find as a challenge. But yeah, it's definitely a great spot to be in. My team trusts me and I'm able to make a lot of decisions on big things of where the brand's going to go and who we partner with and kind of what our strategy is. So that's been great.
Can you pinpoint any classes at KU that are directly tied to what you do? I mean, if you can think back that far.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember necessarily the specific names of the classes, but the class where you create your strategic map, I think it's called SPM or something like that. I use a very similar workflow and structure in my class today. I also worked a lot with Janet Rose. I was on the National Student Advertising team at KU with the agency. I use a lot of skills on a day-to-day basis. And then just like the market research class where you're conducting focus groups, doing surveys, I would say a lot of my job is trying to understand who our customer is. SkyFi is disrupting our industry, so we're the first company to do what we're doing. And we haven't found product market fit yet, so we're still learning about who our customer is and having skills of understanding what questions to ask customers, how to quantify research, what qualitative research looks like. Those type of things have been super helpful.
And speaking of your time at KU, I know like right after your first semester, you had an freak accident during a family vacation. You took off a semester, you came back, with a plan. And I know I had you in class, 505. I don't know if you remember that or not. You were a great student. So what was that KU experience like, after you kind of took that pause? And I know you had to kind of rethink your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was going into the University of Kansas, I wanted to be an international business major, something along those lines. I wanted to travel the world, speak Spanish, and work with international companies, I guess, and travel around. And yeah, as you mentioned, in December of 2015, I got paralyzed in a wave accident. Obviously, very unexpectedly, traumatic for my family, traumatic for me. Took some time off. Didn't know if I was going to be able to go back to college or what I was going to do. My parents lived in Colorado, so I went back and stayed with them for a little while I kind of went into rehabilitation and figuring out what I was going to do. And I was able to come back to KU. Much of it was thanks to the Beta fraternity at KU that renovated the house and let me come and live back there again. So that was amazing. But yeah, I definitely switched my my goals switched and my expectations of life switched. Traveling became a lot more difficult. Wanting to do international business was no longer a choice. I looked at kind of broader majors because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And strategic communications kind of fell in line with a lot of my interests of talking to people, connecting with people, you know, communicating, marketing, all those things that I kind of liked in the international business side of things. Strategic communications definitely fell right into something that I wanted to do.
And you talked about your fraternity house and making it more accommodating. Can you elaborate a little bit about that? I assume, a ramp and just accessibility was a big part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was pledging the fraternity when I got paralyzed at the time. So I had one semester of being able-bodied in the fraternity and walking around and being able to build a lot of relationships with people, which is great. I got paralyzed over winter break, and then I remember probably in April or so, so about 4 or 5 months after getting paralyzed, the fraternity came to me. A guy named Al Simmons, who was the executive director at the time, he's a Jayhawk as well. He came and pretty much told me that they were going to renovate the house and make changes and allow me to come back. What renovation meant was essentially they were going to make a room that was accessible for me. It had an accessible bathroom. I could sleep in that room. The guys in the house were going to help take care of me. And keep in mind, I had no idea what I was doing. I was freshly paralyzed, couldn't move any of my limbs, like just had no idea how I was going to live life. And now they're telling me that I'm going to go back to this fraternity and with all these guys who also have no idea what they're doing. So it was definitely a challenge, but I think it worked out really for the best. And I always tell people what typically happens when you get paralyzed is you have your accident, you learn how to live life again as someone in a wheelchair, and then you go back into life. I had my accident and I went back into life and then learned how to live in a wheelchair. So I think that kind of system worked really well. I had great support, a lot of friends. It was a really good situation. I'm really thankful for it.
And I think that support also included, didn't they coordinate a 5K with your name on it too?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. We had 4 strong years of what they called the Tom Strong 5K. It was set up by the current fraternity when I got paralyzed, and the money went to a scholarship called the Tom Babb Scholarship that lives on at KU today. Gives money to people with disabilities looking to essentially come back to college and try to start over and get back to a working life. So I think we raised a little bit over $100,000, and I've been told that scholarship will go on forever. So it's been super powerful. I obviously I'm very grateful for that, and it was a community effort. Honestly, it was beyond the fraternity. KU stepped up. It was an unbelievable thing. At the time, Neely Bendapudi was our provost. She kind of took me under her wing. Pretty much said, what do you want to do with your life? How can I help you? And set me up with all these resources to make sure I could get what I wanted to done. So it was just really, I think, a flawless experience coming back from being paralyzed.
So how's that transition from college to the professional world? How's that been in terms of like resources? I mean, do you have to fight for some resources, or are they pretty much all in place for you so you can do your job?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say it was a little bit difficult, honestly, at the beginning. I was just like many students, I was receiving insurance and different benefits from being a student, and then I lost those benefits, and I turned to the government, right? So most people with disabilities are able to get Medicaid through the government, which I did for a while, but you are not financially free. You have zero financially independence if you're receiving benefits from the government. You can pretty much make a fixed amount of money and then you receive your benefits, and that's how it works. That's when people talk about the welfare cycle or not being able to get out of that. That's what I kind of jumped into out of college. So that was really difficult. Fortunately, I had support from community members, my family. I was able to stay financially stable for a while, and then I was able to kind of work up enough experience to make a jump away from Medicaid, away from all the benefits I was receiving, and then live on my own. So today I no longer on Medicaid, financially free, I would say. Just live off of salary and benefits from my company. So that was honestly probably the hardest part, was going into the real world and dealing with real challenges without this community and these benefits and all these things that I'd been really leaning on for 4 years or so, and realizing what it was going to be like in the real world. Outside of that, work and we can get into that, but things that I did directly after college, everything was very accommodating. I think the world is really set up accommodations, especially with people with disabilities. I've never had any issues where I don't feel like I have a fair shot at competing.
No, that's good to know. Have you been working remotely or hybrid, or how have you been working the last 4 years?
Yeah, really a combo of everything. Pre-COVID, I was in person. So directly out of college, I went and worked for Barkley, the ad agency in Kansas City. That was a great experience. I was an intern and was with I think a class of 24, so maybe 20. So that was all in person every day. At that time pre-COVID, remote work was not even really something you would consider. And then after that summer, I think it was about a 3 month gig. I fell into a startup in Kansas City called Mobility Design. It was an industrial design firm that was selling medical devices. Their primary product was crutches. I didn't really want to get into the whole medical world and kind of be siloed into having a disability and then selling medical equipment. But this was just kind of an opportunity that came up, something interesting. I was kind of doing an e-commerce role for them, so I was selling their product on Amazon and on an e-commerce website. Learned like shipping, online marketing, driving traffic to websites, those type of skills, which is super helpful. And halfway through that experience, so I was there for 2.5 years. COVID hit, went into lockdown like everyone else. Then did remote work for about a year. Went back to hybrid work with them. Um, Ended up leaving them when I joined at SkyFi in April 22. Did remote work from Kansas City to my company that's in Austin at SkyFi for about 6 months, and then decided to move down here. So now I'm in Austin, Texas, and I'm doing a hybrid work schedule. I probably go into the office, I would say 5 to 10 times a month. So a couple times a week, sometimes every week, or sometimes every day a week. It really depends on who's in town, who's going into the office, all these factors that others consider as well.
So it sounds like you've been able to adjust and are pretty flexible. I mean, do you kind of see that happening throughout your career, that you're going to be prepared for anything?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, first of all, I think remote working for people with disabilities is huge. Uh, like, well, actually, it's really huge for anyone, right? Like, if you have kids or just really any barriers in your life that limit you from going into the office, it's just so much easier to get out of bed, pull up to your computer, and sit down and get to work. So, uh, remote's been huge for me. The culture shift around remote has been huge for me. Right now, it's like you're praised for working all the time remote instead of not coming into the office. So that's been great. Outside of that, yeah, I think I've just had really good community support my whole life. And when I came down to Texas, I didn't know anyone, so that was a new challenge. Kind of figuring it out on my own down here. But yeah, the structure's always the same. I have to set up a care team to help take care of me. I typically go through universities, so down here I really leverage UT and just hire a team of caregivers, and it's all worked out. It's been really good.
Speaking of UT, were you able to make the KU Texas football game a couple weeks ago?
I did. I
Oh,
ended up leaving a little bit early to try to get away from the fans, but yeah, it was a hot game, and it was sad, but honestly, their stadium is really impressive. I felt like I was at a Chiefs game, and it was an awesome experience.
were you able to connect with any of your classmates, fraternity brothers? Were they in town?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a pretty big group that came down from KU. I think KU fans are really good at turning out for their team anywhere you go. So I definitely felt at home, even surrounded by a bunch of orange.
And you said, so you had no prior connections to Texas or Austin before you took this job?
Yeah. I mean, I had met my team. I'd met some people on my team in person, just from them traveling around and us crossing paths. But yeah, I didn't know anyone. My connections were kind of, the classic. It's like my brother's friend from high school or something like that, right? So it's like a second or third degree connection that I'm just trying to rekindle just to make some friends down here. But Austin's a really open community. There's people moving here all the time. It's been very easy to make friends and meet people.
So have you given much thought, short term, long term? Is this the kind of work you see yourself doing for quite some time?
Yeah, I'm gonna stay with SkyFi. until there's some type of development. We're a startup as well, so the ideal situation is we IPO or get acquired in a later stage. If that happens, I'll kind of reevaluate what the company looks like. But yeah, my long-term goal right now is to stay in the position I'm at SkyFi. I run our marketing, so I just love being able to make the calls that I want, see the company grow, have those wins, the small and big wins on the brand side. So yeah, I plan on staying in Austin and staying with SkyFi until some development happens.
Well, it's hard to believe you're going on 5 years since you graduated from KU.
Yeah.
What advice would you have to students, that are thinking about doing a similar career that you're doing? What should they be prepared to do?
Yeah, I would say I love this question, by the way, because it's one of those things that you always think back when you when you have a new milestone or something, you think, God, I wish I would have been told that sooner. The number one thing for me, the number one tool that's the most important to my day to day, that makes me the most valuable, is Adobe Creative Cloud. When I learned that and I was able to create content and essentially bring my ideas to life, that is what changed the value that I can bring to a company and the essentially my output. So Adobe Creative Cloud, I know they teach it at KU and they really help. Well, I remember having classes, specific classes where they essentially teach you Adobe Creative Cloud, and I was really struggling through those. I didn't want to learn it. There's a heavy learning curve. With my assistive technology, I thought it was difficult. It was just I was putting a bunch of excuses up to not learn it. It wasn't until COVID that I actually sat down and decided to dedicate some time to it. So Adobe Creative Cloud is number one most important thing. The other thing I think is really important is, and this goes along with the Creative Cloud and those tools, is just creating content. It doesn't matter if it's written blogs, it doesn't matter if it's social media content, photography, like anything that you can put out there and put in your portfolio. I know that J School talks about the portfolio the whole time. I was just looking through some. I'm hiring right now for a visual storyteller contractor, and I was just looking through some resumes today. And if they don't have a link to their portfolio, I don't even read the resume. The first thing I'm clicking on is their portfolio, and I just want to see what they can do. If it doesn't align with what I'm going for, but I can see that they have the design skills to do what I need, that's all I'm looking for. So I would say creating content early and starting soon is definitely something I wish I would have done sooner. I've been doing some mouth painting. That's what I've been doing on the side. So I have a painting partner, Katie Claflin. I think she was a comms major, maybe liberal arts comms, but she went to KU, and we've been tag teaming paintings. So I make abstract backgrounds, and she puts really detailed designs on the front of it. And so we did one for Bill Self, and he signed it. So that one's really, really cool. The picture is Bill Self holding it. And then the other one that you might see floating around the J School, I've been talking with Marls about this. If you're familiar, I think her name's Marls Schultz.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. She so KU J School bought a bunch of cards of one of my paintings. So there's thank you cards floating around the J School somewhere.
Awesome. Great advice. Hey, Tom, I truly appreciate your time. Keep up the great work in Austin, and cheers to your career.
Cheers. Thanks a lot, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tom.